I heard of this new concept called zero-knowledge proofs. And I honestly just called bullshit on it. No real-world application would fit on 40 transactions per second, right? So how do we scale blockchain? The thing that makes blockchain valuable is verifiability. And that comes out of decentralization. My conclusion of Bitcoin was, that's a Ponzi scheme. And there's zero chance the governments won't make it illegal. We're not building L2s for like non-idealistic reasons. We really care about Ethereum privacy. Again, it's part of your everyday life. Literally, you could not use Amazon if there wasn't privacy. Privacy doesn't necessarily mean anonymity.
Why do you think people are scared of privacy though? Why do you say that?
I think it just becomes this sort of dirty word, right? Sometimes caution is a good feature, especially in blockchain. We don't want to move fast and break things. We need to do these decisions responsibly. We onboard enterprises onto their own chains because they need their own block space. They need customization.
This is great. It's funny. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast here at Network School. We're here at the gathering of the Ethereum Foundation and the L2s. I'm lucky to have Lumi here with me. Let's start right at the beginning. Why are you even here?
That's a good question. I felt like making a joke about Vitalik now, but
We can go straight to his post, you know?
it's really important for L2s to work very directly with L1. First of all, like, we are the biggest clients when you think about it in that way of Ethereum. I think every L2 team we're not building L2s because for like non-idealistic reasons. We really care about Ethereum. We really care about decentralization and the verifiability that brings. So we work really, really closely on a day-to-day basis with EF for R&D, for protocol. We directly get the like from upstream, like EVM part of our product that we can build on top of them too. So we spend a lot of time with the Ethereum Foundation.
And then how about your role particularly then? Like, what are you up to at the minute? And again, why did that mean that you should be here?
I'm a senior product manager at Offchain Labs, working on Arbitrum core protocol. Some of my focuses include ZK proving Arbitrum, privacy, anything built on top with privacy, as well as just normal core protocol stuff. So scalability, latency, upgrades. And I guess I was the guy that was available to go.
I know. Yeah. I don't know. South deep more relevant things than that. But okay, well, let's rewind then. Where are you actually from?
I grew up in Finland.
Okay. Interesting. And then how did you get into this crazy world that we now occupy?
Of blockchain specifically.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're in some crazy. Talk about that. Yeah.
So I, as a anti-conformist teenager in 2011, I first heard of Bitcoin, right? A lot of it was this sort of anti-conformism, and I started reading into it. I started reading the white paper, the forums, and basically my conclusion of Bitcoin was, that's a Ponzi scheme. And there's zero chance the governments won't make it illegal. I still don't fully disagree with the Bitcoin one. 2014, 2015, started hearing about smart contracts. I'm like, oh, there's a use for blockchain besides money that government's going to make illegal, right? But I had a stable Web2 career. I really enjoyed it in the data center industry. So it wasn't until 2015, 2016, I heard of this new concept called zero-knowledge proofs. And I honestly just called bullshit on it. It's like there's zero chance that you could possibly prove that you did something without showing the inputs or showing your work.
Sure.
And turns out that is true. You can't. The key part of it is it's probabilistically true. There's like a 1 in whatever quadrillion chance that it could be false. And that's what unlocked it. And I immediately started getting excited. First of all, super cool cryptography. I still liked blockchain. I was reading about it, but like the only value in blockchain that we have is the thing that makes blockchain valuable is verifiability. And that comes out of decentralization. If you don't care about that property, just use AWS. It works really well. It's not verifiable. You're having to trust it. So we had to be maximally decentralized.
Yep.
But the problem with being decentralized is every single node needs to execute, or every computer needs to re-execute the same transactions over and over again. And this is the reason why, until recently, Ethereum could only process 15 to 20 transactions per second. And now it's more like 40. But uh, let's be honest, no real world application would fit on 40 transactions per second, right? So how do we scale blockchain in a way that we can keep the verifiability property and then get way more scale? This led me to Fractal ZK, and that's how I actually then entered professionally into blockchain. At the time, there was not a lot of people researching Fractal ZK for the L2s, basically.
Okay, so again, so were you doing kind of like privacy stuff before you saw these ZK proofs?
So
Yeah.
the privacy is what got me excited for ZK in the first place. And then very quickly after that is like, oh, there's this succinctness property within this. Oh, maybe we can use that. And it was a fairly quick switch. I still passionate about um, like data compliance, you being able to have your data without everyone seeing it. Like I am very passionate about
But it's kind of interesting, is like a lot of people hear this ZK stuff and it's like, oh, but actually, again, like it's been a scaling solution, right? Where it's just kind of about this privacy,
there is definitely knowledge in the zero knowledge proofs that we post.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, but it's like it's super interesting. Why does privacy matter?
So this is one of those things of like, you should in your mind separate this out into sort of two segments. One, we grew up in the West, right? So we have this feeling of like, okay, but let's just have cameras everywhere, because this way if someone robs us, the police can track them.
Yeah.
I'm freaky in England for that. Um in that world, that kind of makes sense. The thing you don't realize is how slippery of a slope that is, and you don't realize, especially now with AI, how much can be extracted of you in milliseconds. Like how much understanding can be made about your every single movement.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm trying to give examples, like real world examples of, let's say you have a stalker. Now that stalker knows your wallet address, they can follow every single purchase you make. They can follow you around the world because they know where you're making it.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to give money to Ukraine, right? Um, the problem is, if you give it from a public address, Russia knows who to attack,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's cyber or something else. You have privacy in your day-to-day life. You have privacy in your own home.
Yeah.
You're not being watched. You have privacy in transactions. Every time you make a credit card transaction, you have privacy, at least from everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? So these are rights that we already have. We need to make sure to protect them, and we need to make sure that we can also bring back some of those rights that we've let go of without realizing it.
Mhm.
Then there's the rest of the world, right? Or parts of the world where governments don't work, right? Someone might limit how you can spend your money. Someone might limit what you can learn, what you can do, where you're allowed to go. Like your identity might actually block you from doing a lot of things.
Mhm.
There, it's way more important.
Yeah. Right. I love both of those explanations, right? Like, and I think what's interesting, right, again, is that you kind of it's like maybe these things we've given away without realizing, right? Because
Mhm.
actually, one of the crazy things is that I think like a lot of people misinterpret Bitcoin as being this sort of like private, like anonymous money that you can just like wire for all your drugs to everyone and get away with whatever crimes.
Very trackable.
And it's been the antithesis. There's like a shit ton of crimes that have been solved because it was done on Bitcoin and it is so traceable, right? And I guess is that we have like created these systems where actually partly because of that verifiability or whatever it is, right? Just that like there's just like these like transparent systems that you can go and look at and you can see every single transaction that someone's like public wallet has actually made. Right?
Every time you see in normal news, oh, North Korea stole some funds, it's like, yes, but you would never see that in traditional finance. So like,
Yes. Yeah. All right. So it's like we created these incredible systems, but they had some downsides, right?
Mhm.
And I guess that this is part of the problems that you're trying to solve now by making all of this stuff like fully private. Is there a path for this to all actually get fully private?
Privacy is a loaded term, right? You need to define what is privacy and what level of privacy. Privacy doesn't necessarily mean anonymity. Even if you had truly private money, it's like the second you log in through your internet service provider, there's a trail. If you make a transaction through RPC, there's a trail. Like, and people can extract this data, right? That is anonymity, complete obliviousness from the rest of the world. That's not necessarily what you need, right? And you don't have, even if you really try, it's very hard to. So there is privacy in different levels that are important, right? So you might want privacy for your transaction data, but maybe the operator of that payment system can view the data like they can today, right? PayPal can see your data, Visa can see your data, or at least the banks that work with Visa. So that is already a massive level of privacy that, like, we don't have in blockchain, right? There's other cases where privacy might matter, like every time, if you're a US person, you have a social security number, which is this private key that you use publicly. Terrible idea. Really bad idea. They send you letters
Yeah.
with your private key printed. Anyone can, it's just a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You have to provide this every single time you sign up for a bank account. If you become a Uber driver, if you like get a house, if you sign up for exchanges, like these systems get hacked.
Yep.
The problem is if someone steals this private key, they have your entire identity. And you might have to spend years in court fighting if you ever get out of it. And that's assuming you have enough money to take someone to to process this legally. Um, so for example, having like a ZK proof of your identity, this person for real is a US person, so they're allowed to use this bank. This person has paid their taxes or has more than like $1 million for a credit investor without actually having to show that.
Yeah.
Now you can send a proof to all these exchanges, to these services, and all of a sudden that privacy just protects you against hacks. Like, so it's different types of privacy, and I think it's really important that, like, some of these use cases are thought for seriously. Privacy scares people. That's like, that word scares people. It doesn't mean anything extreme that you don't have today.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, to be really clear, right, on like the like a simple example of a ZKP, right? Or like it's like, okay, you're trying to buy alcohol at a store, and they need to age verify that you are legally allowed to be sold that alcohol. And so currently, right now, you hand over like a passport with like your address, your
Yep.
numbers, like everything, right? And actually, what you could do.
Luckily, not your social security number on that piece, but the other one, yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, but what ZKP can do instead is basically is proven verified that you are either over or underage without revealing any other information, right? And it's sort of just like these, it's almost like selective proofs, right? Where like just they don't have to actually reveal anything else, attached to that sort of like wallet address or whatever it is that
Mm.
we're kind of like doing, right? And it's like I find that hard to for people to be scared of that. Yeah. Why do you think people are scared of privacy though? Why do you say that?
I think it just becomes this sort of dirty word, right? Like, you think when you, like, okay, you might think of a different thing. I think a different thing. I think when most people hear privacy, they see like this guy in the shadow with a hoodie. Or I think it's just we've gotten these images of hackers, of who this sort of person might be that really wants privacy. Again, it's part of your everyday life. Like,
Yep.
literally, you could not use Amazon if there wasn't privacy. TLS encrypts your data, right? Like, if you didn't have this, you'd log onto a website, anyone could intercept your credit card number as it's being put online, and you couldn't shop online,
Yep.
right? Like, this was a major, like, important thing. And this is, by the way, for like privacy pools of mixing funds, this literally shuffles bits to make it hard to find encryption, right? These are things that you use in regular life. So you could have a different word for it for marketing reasons, like confidentiality, or like,
Yep.
I think we need to work on how we frame it to people also, because we live in a world where people have a bad image of it.
So back to Arbitrum then with this, like what is the strategy or the kind of like phase of implementation of this sort of like privacy tech with Arbitrum? What's going on there?
So Offchain Labs is working on a few different solutions for protocol level privacy. We'll be pushing out more information about these solutions later. One of them is extremely exciting, actually. I think it's one of the best designs. We also have a really, really strong, like, we probably the strongest privacy ecosystem outside of Ethereum, where we have the privacy pools project, we have Tornado Cash, we have Railgun, we have Session, the messaging app. All these basically every privacy app has chosen Arbitrum as its home. So today we really want to support these projects as well, because you can already use these today. there are other ways that we're working with enterprises, some of these TradFi firms, in a way that could give you like user level privacy. The operator might see it. There's different solutions that we might be able to do for KYC, for these use cases of proving you're over a certain age. So
Yeah.
w- it's been a big priority for Arbitrum for a long time. It literally, the white paper on fraud proofs of Arbitrum, the protocol, before L2s were a thing, had Arbitrum a private, and I forgot the rest of the title, but it was literally in the white paper of
That's very cool.
Arbitrum.
Yeah.
I think there's been a lack of like um adoption. And that's now the community is getting excited about privacy again, which thank God.
Yeah.
So it's been exciting to now be able to push more priority internally in developing these solutions for users.
That's very, very cool.
Also, legislative clarity is really nice.
Mhm. Okay, so again, so that's being reprioritized. Like again, like what else? Again, like what else are you responsible for? At Offchain Labs. Yeah, like say more about your work.
Yeah, so like one of the things, for example, we're working, or I'm personally working on with an amazing team of researchers and engineers, is we're working on adding the ability to have ZK proving in Arbitrum. ZK, again, this is my background with ZK.
Yeah.
It's been prohibitively expensive until recently, especially when you get to higher throughput. Like it's literally in the tens of millions of dollars to prove very little data if you were to post it constantly. So that's been a huge unlock in the last. It's amazing how quickly ZK has moved. It's come down orders of magnitude. It's finally getting to the level that it's cheap enough. Then there was the development of ZK virtual machines. So instead of making these highly complex circuits just for the EVM or just for this app, now what you can do is you take a virtual machine like RISC-V, you program circuits for its 56 opcodes. So these are like instructions: add, multiply, and this is what your computer has a virtual machine. That's
Mhm.
how it executes programs on top of it. So now you can just make a zero knowledge proof of a virtual machine and anything that runs on top of it, right? So any generic program
Mhm.
theoretically could be proven. So this unlocked the ability for us to take the Arbitrum protocol, the Nitro protocol. We aren't just EVM. We actually run WASM. So it allows you to program in Rust, in C, in Solidity, EVM compatible.
Yep.
Move was just recently added, so you can write Move programs on Arbitrum. So it's been an interesting process where we're not just proving Ref, the EVM client, we're proving a WASM binary. And it's been a unique challenge. It's been really fun. That integration has come really quickly. But again, the other unlock that's been really important for adding ZK is just having a ZK chain with just ZK is actually incredibly insightful. I guarantee you every single one of these ZK VMs has an unsoundness bug, like a critical level bug inside of zero knowledge circuits. It's complicated. Like it's
Mhm.
really complex math. It's really, so the way that we're deploying this or adding the support for the Arbitrum stack is in a multi-prover configuration. So you'll have multiple proof systems and you kind of get the best of both. So to move the state of the rollup, you'll post T attestations. You'll run the normal client in a T, attest to it. Then you'll have a ZK proof. That also becomes a second like proof system. And if either one of those disagrees, you fall back to Arbitrum Bold, which is our fraud proof protocol, the multi-level fraud proof protocol. So you kind of get 3 layers of security. And this is the way that you can responsibly have a ZK chain that settles much faster.
And this again, this is about like maybe part of the ZK stuff fails, but actually you're not compromising on security, even if that sort of happens,
Yeah,
right?
and we have 1,000 developers. We have had over 1 billion transactions. We have $20 billion in the protocol. Now, maybe a little bit less because ETH prices are but 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 this is like sometimes caution is a good feature, especially in blockchain. We don't want to move fast and break things. We need to do these decisions responsibly when you're securing large amounts. So it made sense for some other ZK protocols with that didn't really have users or money to take this kind of risk.
Uh, Again, another great answer. So I guess so. At the minute, Arbitrum, I guess, like versus like other L2s or kind of like the L1 itself, like what's the community using Arbitrum for most, I guess? Like that 20 billion TVL, et cetera. Like what are the core things that, Arbitrum is
Yeah.
yeah.
So I like this is not marketing approved. I personally like the saying the home of DeFi. Like this is what the vast majority of users, most of the perp dexes live on Arbitrum, so perpetual futures, swaps, lending. The Arbitrum's the biggest lending pool outside of Ethereum for Aave, and I believe Morpho. For Uniswap, it's the biggest chain outside of Ethereum for liquidity, even more than Uniswap's chain. So these are the like DeFi primitives that normally like people use in their day-to-day life, in their investing and their gambling in these different situations, and that's really the majority of the users. I'm sure the ecosystem team would want me to, there's games, there's other things, but that's really what we're specialized in.
No, 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 that's very cool. And then I guess like, yeah, like back to sort of like this week then, and like why you've kind of like come here and been collected here. Like I guess like has anything changed for you? I guess like from this week. I guess well, one there's the obvious sort of like Vitalik in the room and his like thoughts on the relationship between like L1 and L2s. But I guess you've also just been surrounded by, it's not the biggest gathering of kind of L2s that happened yet, but it's like these are pretty rare events to have
Mhm.
this many people kind of in the same place. Like what's been your takeaways or things that have maybe changed in your mind this week?
Yeah, so this has actually been a really good event. Like you don't always, some of these events aren't always very valuable. I have a long list of action items or things to consider. Some of the topics that we talked about were really interesting that we can also apply, like post-quantum resistance is really, really important. I think more important than people realize and more urgent than people realize. So we talked a lot about that. We talked about what Ethereum L1 might do to add privacy, or RPC level privacy. That's something that we can add to or think about. We worked on collectively on it, Ethereum Foundation's roadmap. Like, what should they prioritize? What's important for the users, for the chains? So I don't have a like the one thing. It's been a really nice few days, and honestly, I think the funny thing is like again we've old L2s, we've known each other for a long time. We all know the Ethereum Foundation people. Like there is no antagonism there.
Mhm.
Like it was a collective kind of like, oh damn it, Vitalik. But but it's like we love Vitalik, and he made good points.
Yeah, yeah,
Like no, L2 is not Ethereum.
yep,
Kind of by definition. Like that's, we make a platform. We onboard enterprises
yep,
onto their own chains because they need their own block space. They need customization. They need to set their own ordering policies. They want to capture the revenue instead of giving it to another chain that they're deployed on. Like these are business needs,
yep,
right?
yep.
So it wasn't very dramatic here. Like I think Twitter cared a lot more than we're like, yeah, so this for Alec.
Right, normal, right? And then I mean, how have you? Is this your? Had you heard about Network School before being invited to kind of like come here for this?
I had heard about it. I hadn't. I'm very busy in my sort of L2 world too. Like I had heard about it, and I told, there was a couple of friends that I was hanging out with that I told that I was gonna be here, and they're like, oh, network school. I've been wanting to.
And I guess, did you have any expectations of what you were walking into before getting here, or
Not
like?
particularly. No.
And it,
I think I was dreading the flight more. It's like,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I,
no, I was excited. It's a cool community of people. Like we've met some of the people here at Network School over the last 5 days, and everyone seems really genuine and nice and serious in whatever they came to achieve.
yeah, I can't actually believe now with like the thousands of people have come through that like we haven't had like someone that was like actually not nice. I don't know. It just feels actually like pretty, kind of a lot of these communities and a lot of these events, they can attract like, absolute wild cards.
Yeah,
But I just feel like for some reason we've just had like, we've been really, touch all the wood, it's just
yeah.
like really nice people, authentic, genuine people do end up coming through here.
I also think that this is like place feels a little more like me. Then I've been to Zuzalus and these Edge City kind of things, and they're they're a little bit different vibe than where I would necessarily want to stay a little longer. Like they were lovely events,
Yeah.
but I like the sort of focusing on your health, focusing on yourself while being serious about work, while being like it's very nice here.
So you're gonna come back?
I might just stay as a homeless person in a corner if you guys let me stay extra week.
No, I think you're very, very welcome to. You know, you don't have to leave. Believe me.
I'll be in the cleaner squad, but
So maybe then last question then I guess, like, what are you excited about for with Offchain Labs and Arbitrum and you know your own work for the rest of this year?
so there's I'm bullish
Yeah.
on Offchain Labs technology or Arbitrum technology. There's some really cool things that we're doing that some of them you're starting to see. First of all, one of the privacy projects I'm very excited about.
Yep.
It's a whole new chain design. The some of the other things that we're doing is like we just instituted the first step of something we call dynamic pricing. And it's without going into details, you can go on Arbitrum Twitter to read more, but basically it's allowed us to we hit like 3,700 transactions per second a couple days ago. We're consistently going over 800 now. Just to give an idea, Swift does around 800 transactions per second. So Solana maxes out at 2. Like the Visa average is around 7,500. So like this is starting to be
Yep.
like real throughput.
Yep.
And that's the first part of dynamic pricing. So then we'll have multidimensional gas that will allow us theoretically to increase scalability by 10x. We're doing work with reducing database size, so this history doesn't grow. Like we really want to do it right. We don't want to just pump up the gas and be like, use as many transactions as you want, and then it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Those things, the ZK stuff, like there's a lot of really cool stuff coming, and I think we're about to put out a roadmap publicly of some of the 2026 projects we're working on, so you can stay tuned to that.
Okay. So basically, like, yeah, like wait for the announcement, and then we can find it out all about there. Okay, Louis, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all the work that you're doing. It's important. Again, the privacy stuff. I think unfortunately people are going to realize how important it is before it was just built and in place. So
Oh, hopefully they won't notice it.
well that would do. I did. We've done our jobs, so yeah, and we did it fast enough. But I just worry it's not gonna. We'll see. But fingers crossed. It's the good work of people like you that's making it possible. So thank you very much. Right. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Cheers. Thank you.
All the builders kind of died out. In the meantime, I kept building probably around 70 people from 21 different layer 2s on Ethereum, brought together, many of them from Asia, from the West.
And do you think that their role is more important going forwards, or is it the role changing that they play for Ethereum?
When you say scaling Ethereum, I think in his pure way, that means that you take all the values of Ethereum, all the properties of security, decentralization, and make sure that whoever uses the L2 gets all of this. Ethereum becomes that source of truth, that layer for all the machines, all the systems to establish what really they're working on. And Ethereum is scaling itself on the layer 1. The researchers have been working for many years on preparation of everything related to accounts to post-quantum security. The foundation, leadership, and coordination should always focus on things that don't happen naturally in the market.